Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So, how many of you are truly aware of about how many individuals are living with diabetes today, are living their lives as diabetics? Any idea? Roughly about how many? Well, according to CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, over 29 million individuals in the United States, over 29 million people in the United States are living with diabetes. And my goal today is to inform you of the diabetes, the two types of diabetes and common symptoms between the two. So, two members of my household are currently living with diabetes. So this is well known in our family. We've even lost a loved one to the disease. I had an aunt that passed away, um, and it was due to that condition. And so we really had to do our research, and now we follow really strict regimens to manage our blood sugar levels so that we are managing this well. Especially those that have to watch what they eat and, their insulin intake and all those things. And so today, again, we're going to talk about the two types of diabetes and common symptoms to be aware of. So let's start with diabetes type 1, also known as juvenile diabetes. So type 1 diabetes, it's also known as juvenile diabetes basically because the onset of this type usually manifests during childhood and adolescence. So when you're a child or, you know, during adolescence, this is really typically when the onset of type 1 diabetes would occur. Although the disease is usually caught early on, more than 1 in 5 cases of type 2 diabetes have been diagnosed in individuals over the age of 40, according to figures that were announced at a diabetes conference uh, some time ago. So this type of diabetes, what happens is beta cells in the pancreas stop producing insulin. It does not produce the type of insulin that the body needs. So that's type 1 diabetes. The second type of diabetes is type 2 diabetes. This form of diabetes is generally called adult onset diabetes, or some refer to it as non-insulin dependent diabetes, meaning it's not, you're not having to take insulin, you're not having to supply your body with the insulin because your body is making some insulin. So you're not, so it's also known as non-insulin type diabetes. Um, People of any age can develop this type of diabetes. So regardless of your age, you can develop type 2 diabetes. Just because you're not diagnosed as a diabetic as a child doesn't necessarily mean you won't be diagnosed as a diabetic as an adult. So type 2 diabetes, basically what happens, the pancreas, it loses the ability to create enough insulin for the amount of food that one eats. That's kind of how it was explained to me by one of our family physicians. And so your body is still making insulin, and so you're really not having to supply any extra insulin into your body, but it doesn't make enough for, the amount of food that you eat. And so some individuals with type 2 diabetes typically have to take prescription like pills like metformin or something of that sort. So now that we've established or we've identified the two types of diabetes, type 1, also known as juvenile diabetes, and type 2, also known as the adult onset, we can start to discuss some of the common symptoms between the two that individuals need to be aware of. And they really occur if, it's undiagnosed or if you're just not managing are controlling your condition well. So one of the most common symptoms of diabetes when it's not managed well is excessive thirst. You would find that a person is always thirsty. They drink lots and lots of water if they're a water drinker. Excessive thirst is one of the symptoms, common symptoms between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Excessive urination is listed as a common symptom on WebMD. They consider excessive urination as a sign and a symptom of being diabetic. Fatigue is also a common symptom when you're living with uncontrolled diabetes. You may find that this person is always tired, always sleeping, always lounging, does not have a lot of energy. So those are a few signs of a few symptoms of type 1 and type 2. It could go either way with those symptoms, and there are many more. So that concludes my brief presentation on type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Today, we've established that type 1, it could occur at any time, diabetes period can occur at any age, but the timing of the onset is a factor in the diagnosis, whether your doctor would diagnose you with type 1 or type 2. So one must be aware of that and aware of the symptoms so that you're able to get the help that you need in a timely manner before it causes damage, permanent damage, because it can cause permanent damage. And so diabetes is a serious disease and is one of the leading causes of death and disabilities in the United States, according to the National Diabetes Education Program. So if you know someone, if you or someone you know is a diabetic or pre-diabetic or on the verge of becoming a diabetic because of a bad diet, let's help. Let us do our part and do our due diligence in helping people become more knowledgeable about the disease. Prevention is key. Thank you.